Tjena, my name is Johan and in this episode we will start building a proper VR roll cage in my Volvo 240. We'll start by removing all the doors. The doors will be a huge blocker if I would leave them on the car, so they have to go first. Luckily there's no wiring or anything else left in the door, so it's just these 4 bolts on the hinges that hold them on. The splatter on the door cards you see here is from a few months ago when the coolant line into the heater core in the car exploded. Yeah, that's a mess. There's film on the windows to keep the snow from getting in the car, since it's sometimes parked outside and there's no rubbers on the doors, so it can just snow inside. Almost all of the interior stuff has to go, so we'll start with the seatbelts first. Then the dashboard has to go. I love the way the vlog dashboard looks, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put it back. After the last weight stripping bonanza, the dash is only attached with like 3 or 4 bolts or whatever, I'm not sure. This time around, getting the glove box out was a little bit harder than normal. Turned out that there was a blob of this semi-flexible black glue on the bottom of the glove box, which prevented them from sliding out, but with some subtle convincing it was able to get out. And back to removing the bolts for the dash. With the dashboard free, it's time to start removing cables and gauges and other stuff that's still connected to the dashboard itself. I'm not sure if I'll be using the gauge cluster after this, but let's put it away safely, just to be sure. Yeah, and in the next shot you should pay close attention to the left stalk on the steering column. Watch this. I'll do. This is where the pocket of my pants catch a stalk and break it from the steering column. It's just very bad luck. It's still attached here, but completely foobar. It will completely break later in the build, so it's gone now. Oh well, shit happens. Let's continue the dashboard removal. To not lose track of which wire goes where, I decided to use my new fancy labeler and tag the wires. It's a brother PTE55. Yeah, just read the caption. Jeez. This labeler is especially suited for use in a wire harness. Here I print a label in a flag style that wraps around the wires. In this case, go to the oil temperature gauge. Here the hydraulic handbrake is a little bit in the way, but it's still quite fairly easy to remove. So that's gone finally. After removing the dashboard, I do not need the seat anymore to sit in for lazy me, so that has to come out too. Seat's quite expensive, so I don't want to damage it, so let's store it away far from where all the action is. Now it's finally time to do something with the actual cage. Let's first get it out of storage in the other shed. I decided that the first step should be to get the main hoop positioned in the car. It is a little bit of a puzzle to get it in the car since it's a super tight fit. I quickly find out that the A-pillar bar interferes with the relay and fuse box I installed close to the door. So the box has to go for now. I will relocate the box as soon as the roll cage is finished and I know where there's some spare room for it. Let's try the bar again. That's way better. After trying this, I used the laser level to mark and align the main hoop to the car, so we have this as a square reference in the car. By the way, the roll cage I'm building in the car is a pre-bent FIA approved design made by Matthias Leden Motorsport. He specializes in building roll cages for race cars. This means that all the tubes are cut roughly to length and I need to cut them to length, notch them and weld them in. The kit comes all securely packed. One side's tack welded and the other side says cling wrap, so it breaks apart quite easily. And here's the design I've printed out and use as a reference, so I tape it to the car. be able to fully weld the roll cage, it needs to be able to drop through the floor of the car. So I cut 4 holes in the car. I use a hole saw here with a little bit bigger diameter than the actual tubes, so I have some room to move it around in. With big hole saws like this, it's always hard to not have it bite. So this was a little bit of a struggle, but I managed to get it nice after all. Quick tip, always file all the things you cut on projects like this, because otherwise you'll end up with dozens of cuts on your hand, and that's never fun. And also I had to wait until for some tools to arrive in the mailbox, so I started removing all the old sound deadening in the car. It needed to go because later on in this project I will be doing some rust repairs on the floor. You can already see the rusty patches here. I know it's a lot easier to remove the stuff using dry ice, but I have no idea where to get it in my region. I'm still quite new here after moving. Now it's time to start fitting the front A-pillar tubes for good. Together with the main hoop, they form the base of the roll cage, so I really need to make sure they fit really nice. Here I'm using clamps to position the tubes. I use a marker and some painter's tape to carefully mark where to cut the tube. And here you see me use another piece of tape to mark the actual angle of the cut to the end of the tube. It's just eyeballing. It's a 90-degree cut, so this one's quite easy in the tube notcher. Just align the tape with the outside of the hole saw here. The angled tape needs to be horizontal to make a good cut. Sadly, the hole saws I have are not deep enough to make the cut in one go, so I need to use the angle grinder halfway through to cut away the excess part. Here I also deburr the tubes after notching, since the hole saws leave some really nasty sharp burrs. Apart from deburring, I also clean off the cutting oil for a better weld later on. Here's the main hoop and the two A-pillar bars taped and clamped together to make sure it's as symmetrical as it can be before welding. Since the notches are on a radius tube, it does not have a 100% perfect fit, but this will do just fine. Next up is the hardest one to get right, the window tube. Before starting, I marked the center of the tube with 2 pieces of tape, so I can have that as a reference and line it up with the rear view mirror hole in the car. Here it's also just a matter of marking where to cut and on which angle. This is the first difficult cut since it has compound angles. But with some proper marking and eyeballing, it's very doable. Here I set the angles by eye, just using the markings as a guide. After test fitting in the car, I found that the angle needed to be just a little steeper. And here I realized that it also needs to be close to the cut, since there's quite some flex in the shaft that connects the drill to the hole saw. After moving the cutting head forwards and increasing the speed, it worked fine, as you can see here. Cutting at high speed creates a lot of heat though and smoke and does not benefit the lifespan of the hole saw, but yeah. And from this point on I need to start welding in the car, so let's cover the fuel system and other key components with welding blankets. I use simple tack welds until I'm really certain that the tube position is final and can be welded through and through. And also no worries, the lining on the roof is fireproof, so it won't catch fire. In between all these shots I went in and out of the car multiple times to eyeball the levelness of this tube and all the other tubes obviously. I decided that now is a not good time to put the car level on jack stands. If I would have the car on the ground, it would be twisted and also would stay like that if I welded the roll cage to the car, because that makes the shape the car is in permanent, as you can imagine. So I spent some time, mostly off camera, to make sure that the jack stands are all nice and leveled with the laser level. And now that the car is on jack stands, I can use the lift to lower and raise the roll cage inside the car. And I found out that the original dashboard plate is interfering with the cage, so it has to be unbolted to move it away. And with the dashboard out of the way, the cage can now sink through the floor further. And this concludes today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to not miss the next episodes that are coming.